Okay, we're starting. Hopefully no sirens. Eventually, figured out when I get there. So this guitar was on TV. I sent you the clip. Yeah, we were on at least 2 TV stations. Me and Lady Yitzchak.
Well, that's the cup. You don't need it.
That was interesting. It's on the table. On Purim, some people were happy about it. Some people thought it wasn't okay. But that's kind of who I am. Can see my mother's going to complain about my hair, but we're heading into Pesach, and normally I would cut my hair, but since after Pesach you don't cut your hair until the end of Surat Omer or Lag BaOmer, then I'm kind of waiting a little bit. It's a regular thing with my mother, so I have to mention that at this point. So, Purim, Baruch Hashem, I had a friend who was sitting next to me in shul, and he said, how was your Purim? He said to me on Shabbos, Shalom Aleichem to Yael, and to Katie, and to Zahava, and Avital, and David, and Carlos, and everybody else that watches later on, Shalom Aleichem to you. So this guy says to me on Shabbos, how was your Purim? And I had this realization on Purim this year. We're commanded to get to Ad Lo Yada, to the point where we don't know the difference between blessed is Mordechai and cursed is Haman. And really what that means in essence, what that means in essence is Nikudot Tovot. To be able to see the good in everyone and everything, that's a Zamra, which is where we're heading towards. That's the last lesson in this Sefer. And I'm learning it now with Mechavuta, who showed up today to shul with a kittel. I said to him, what's the kittel for? He's like, just leave me alone, let's learn. It's very funny. And then we learned about Mimta Deshtuta, which is, to do silly things to make yourself laugh and put yourself in a good mood. So I said, so the kittel is Mimta Deshtuta. He's like, okay, that's a positive way of looking at it. It's very interesting. He's like in Groundhog Day, the movie, where he keeps repeating the same day, and it's Rosh Hashanah. Rosh Hashanah, Rosh Hashanah, Rosh Hashanah, Rosh Hashanah. It's fascinating. And I'll say to him, what day is it today? He says, I have no idea. Well, what day of the week? I have no idea. Don't even ask me. So I said, okay, it's Tuesday. And I don't know what the Hebrew date is, whatever, 20-something, 25th of Adar? What is it?
20-something.
20-something of Adar. So I said 20-something of Adar. And he's like, okay. So we were learning, Baruch Hashem, he did show up, and hopefully he'll keep showing up. We were learning a Zama, and that's what we're heading towards. And that is the essence of Purim, finding the Nikudot Tovot. And all of the mitzvot of the day, Shalom Aleichem Techaya. All of the mitzvot of the day are to bring us to this place of Ad Lo Yada. So many people think that it's the drinking, that's the thing, but you'll realize if you really do get drunk and you're completely plastered, you might have a couple of minutes where you'll be Ad Lo Yada, and then you're just drunk. And that's only if you did some work on yourself before, otherwise you'll just be a stupid drunk person. But the mitzvot are to reach that place. So that's why we have the Mishlachei Manot. We give these gifts, and somebody who gives normally receives more than they're giving. The fact that active giving is an act of receiving, so it's a nice thing. And people come by, at least to our house. People come by to our house. You guys came by our house. I'm assuming you came by our house. You walked past our house. I don't know. There are many people. We have like a whole table full of stuff every year, and we prepare like 60 mishpachim manot, little ones, but a lot of them. And it's like it's a beautiful thing. And there were people that I haven't seen maybe in a year, or people that I haven't seen in a few years that showed up. And then you have matanot le'avyonim. So I didn't mean to be a collector of tzedakah for people, but once Reb Shalom passed away, people started asking me for money, and he used to do this. So I collected money, and then I have like regular people that give and regular people that receive, and it was something like 9,000 shekels that I distributed this year from people that donated. And so some people could get like 2,000 or 3,000 shekels. Other people got a few hundred shekels. I spread it around. But then we go to the shul to play music, and then we have a Suda, and then our last stop was actually the family that owns this house, lives across the street. I told them that I was going to come, and me and Levi Yitzchak came, and we played music for everybody. They were all sitting there very somber and serious, as the Baal Habayit was giving over a pilpul and who knows what, some chassidus. And, Baruch Hashem, they're a wealthy family, and they're also a nice family. And so people give them a lot of respect, a lot of respect. And then I come in with my funny costume, and I start playing the guitar, and I'm going crazy. And everyone got up and was dancing, and there was like it broke the ice. So that was like the cherry on the top. Okay, so now my friend says, so how was Purim? Did you get to Ad Lo Yada? So I realized that it's not getting to Ad Lo Yada, it's getting beyond what you thought you could be. That's what the potential of the day has. That's like the realization that I had this year. That through all of the mitzvot of the day, you can reach a place that you never thought that you could reach before. And I think I got there this year. Looking forward to next year, reaching the higher place. Bezat Hashem. That's the essence of it, and that's also the essence of Azamra. Azamra is really Purim in a nutshell. So now we're learning from Ayin Tet, and we're learning about the aspect of Mashiach that Moshe brought into the world, and that all of us have this aspect of Mashiach, the tzaddikim have this aspect of Mashiach. Basically, Moshe Rabbeinu was full of mesirut nefesh. He was ready to give over his soul for the Jewish people again and again and again, including the parsha where he says Mechenina, which was that last week or this week? Erase me from your book. And that's the level of self-sacrifice of the tzaddik, and everybody has it within themselves. Everyone has an attribute of Moshe Mashiach within themselves. Not that everybody is Mashiach. There are some people that think they're Mashiach. But that's not the meaning. It means that we have within us. And then now he's going to say, how do we pull out that aspect of Mashiach from within us? There are two ways of doing teshuva. That's what we're going to talk about tonight. Yesh bet minei teshuvot. There are two types of teshuvot. Echad b'bchinat yom chol she'asa teshuva l'sha'a. One of them is the teshuva of the weekday, where a person does teshuva for a short amount of time. V'ashniya b'bchinat Shabbat. And the second is the aspect of Shabbos, שנעקר ממנו החטא באופן שוודאי לא יחזור עליו. That the transgression has been uprooted from a person in a way that they'll never do the transgression again. So we have two levels. How do we bring out the Moshe Mashiach within us? By doing teshuva. We have the teshuva that we do temporarily. That's connected to the 6 days of the week. We have the teshuva that we uproot permanently, like really literally uprooting, pulling the roots out of the ground so the plant won't come back again. And that's connected to Shabbos. And that's what we're going to learn about tonight. There are two types of teshuva. Achat יש בני אדם שעושים משא ומתן והולכים בהבלי העולם הזה. The first is there are people that are involved in business matters and are drawn to the pleasures of this world. פירוש המשא ומתן שלהם הוא בשביל להרבות לעצמם הבלי העולם הזה. That is to say that why are they involved in business? In order to make more money, for them to get more pleasures from this world. ובאמצעות נופל לו הרהורי התשובה. And in the middle, it just happens to fall into the person's mind thoughts of doing tshuva. ונעשה צדיק לאותה שעה. And the person becomes a tzaddik for that moment. ואחר כך חוזר למקומו הראשון. And then the person returns to their first original place, להיות שקוע בהבלי העולם הזה, to be sunken in the pleasures of this world. וזהו בחינת הכתוב, and this is what's written in יחזקאל, החיות רצו ושוב. So this is Yechezkel's vision, where he saw the animals running forward and back. And we say, we also have this, before we say Kriyat Shema, we have Vofanim v'chayot HaKodesh. So if you pay attention, we don't have a sitter here. If you pay attention to the leading up to the Kriyat Shema, it creates a scene of the angels. There are two types of angels: the ones that spin around, and the ones that catch on fire, and then the fire goes out. Catch on fire and goes out. And this is kind of to bring us to this place of spiritual excitement. So when we finally say Shema, it's like coming out with a big bang. It's like pulling the slingshot back more and more and more and more and more and more. It's like, how much can we go? Let's add some spinning and fire angels. Now let it go. Shema! That's what the words in the davening are. And here he says we have these animals running forward, running back, the living creatures. Hainu tshuvot, tshuvato, she'im b'chinat ratzon v'shov. That is to say, that the person's tshuva is an aspect of going forward and coming back, or falling down and getting up. She'en lo naicha, menucha, that it doesn't have any rest. Ki upam tameh, upam tahor. One time the person is impure, one time the person is pure. Kasher pasul. Sometimes the person is kosher, sometimes the person is forbidden. Asur mutar, or pasul is, how would you translate pasul? Sorry.
Invalid.
Thank you. Sometimes the person is kosher and sometimes they're invalid. Asur umutar, got to make your wife happy.
Always happy.
Forbidden or permitted. I should have asked you, maybe you would have made the translation. And this is connected to the 6 days of the week. Keneged sheshet b'chinot hanam. That's connected to the 6 attributes that we mentioned here. Kosher, not kosher, forbidden, permitted, and so on. Aval, tshuva shlema, perusha, but a complete tshuva, its meaning is, la'amod v'madegat tshuva she'alea higia, to remain at the level of tshuva that person reached to start with, bli lipol b'chol pa'am beratzon v'shov, without falling all the time into doing and not doing, into making mistakes and not making mistakes. So this reminds me of when I started keeping Shabbos, back when I was a student in university. And so in the beginning, I would just go Friday night to the Chabad house. And then after services, I would go to this pizzeria, and I'd have a nice little meal by myself. And then there was this woman that started doing it with me, coming with me Friday night. We were just friends, there was nothing there. But it became like a thing. We'd go to services Friday night. We'd go to this pizzeria, non-kosher pizzeria on Friday night. And I was vegetarian, so I didn't have pepperoni pizza. But it did smell good. And then at some point I decided, okay, I'm not coming to the pizzeria anymore. I'm just going to, Friday night, keep Shabbos completely. But Shabbos morning, I get in my car, I drive everywhere. And I did that for a while. And then at some point, I stopped driving on Shabbos. And I stopped using electricity on Shabbos. And it was really that Ratzon v'shov. It was like, I'm going to do a little bit, I'm going to go back. I'm going to do a little bit, I'm going to go back. Until at one point I said, okay, that's it. Keeping Shabbos 100%. And then it was really, right now you couldn't get me to get in a car and drive. I mean, we're in a war. there are crazy circumstances, but just for a normal thing, they come to the movies on Shabbos. I would never do that now. But that wasn't what I grew up with. Like, I did grow up with going to the temple on Shabbos, but I didn't grow up with halacha. So that's the idea of doing it. You go forward, you go backwards, you go forward, you go backwards. That's the 6 days of the week. But when you get to the point where you completely uproot it and it's no longer a thing for you anymore, there's no longer the forward and backwards, hu b'chinat Shabbat. Then it's already the level of Shabbos. Sheyesh lo naicha, menucha, that a person has rest. Ki d'ashur rabotenu zechonam b'cha, because the sages of blessed memory said, ba Shabbat ba menucha. When Shabbat comes, rest comes. Sheyesh lo menucha mikol v'kol, that a person has rest from everything. V'nitche hara legamri, and the evil is completely pushed away. So we know on Shabbos, my favorite time on Shabbos is Friday night, walking home from shul, till Saturday morning, walking to shul. That's always my favorite time of Shabbos. The heavy cooking, it's all over, right? All the work of cooking, which starts tomorrow night for me. I cook as much as I can Wednesday night and Thursday night and Friday all day, and I rush to try to get in the shower before the siren. Now hopefully I will. And then I come to shul, and it's the really chayot vatzov v'shov, it's the animals jumping around, going crazy, and me trying to keep everyone in line, and hopefully there's in total chaos in shul. And then finally I come home, I sit down to the meal. Also, for many years I've been trying to fast on Friday, but not really fast. I'll drink water, and I'll eat a little food, but I try to eat from 12 o'clock, I try pretty much not to eat. So when I'm not really fasting, but when I come to the meal, I'm really hungry. And you're supposed to be really hungry for the meal, so it works. You can sit there and I just cannot wait to start eating. That's total pleasure. So, and then of course Shabbos morning I get up early, and I'm looking forward to the clock change. You see, by the way, the first time I'm looking forward to the clock change. I figured it out. I figured out the trick. Just wake up at the same time. Who cares if they change the clock? So don't spend an hour doing stupid things at night. Spend an hour doing stupid things in the morning. It's perfect. So I get up early on Shabbos morning. Everyone's sleeping. It's great. I feed the cat. He goes and plays outside. All by myself. 2 hours. Quiet. That's Ba Shabbat Ba Menucha. So during the week we have all the stuff going on. But then Shabbos comes, we have rest. And he says that's the types of teshuva. When you're first doing teshuva on something, it feels like the 6 days of the week. It's all the stuff going on. But when you finally uproot that thing, and it never comes back, you get the peace of Shabbos. And those are the 2 aspects of doing teshuva. Ve'teda ne'emana, she'teshuva shlema hu b'bchinot Shabbat. And be certain that complete teshuva is connected to Shabbos, and he's going to, of course, give us text proofs for that. Ki'ita b'midrash rabbah, because it's brought in midrash rabbah, she'paga adam harishon leKayin v'sha'al lo ma na'aseh dincha. When Adam harishon, the first man, met Cain, and asked him, "What was your judgment? Maya on shecha al harigat Hevel." What was your punishment for killing your brother Hevel? And I'm sure that Hevel is connected to Hevlei Olam Hazeh, the desires of this world. Vehishiv Cain lo le'adam rishon she'asa teshuva. And Cain answered to the first man that he did teshuva. Amar adam rishon, and the first man said, Im kach takif hela leteshuva, kol kach gadol hu koach shel teshuva. So great is the power of doing teshuva. V'ani chatati be'etz hadat, and I transgressed by eating the tree of knowledge. V'lo yadati zot, and I didn't know this. I didn't know that I could do teshuva. Patach v'amar, he answered and he said, Mizmo, he opened his mouth and he said, Mizmo liyom Shabbat. He said the verse of Tehillim for praising Shabbat. Dichova at first glance, ma'inyan Shabbat etzem teshuva. What's the connection of Shabbos with doing teshuva? Ad she'ashevach va'atodah ki Hashem nata et koach teshuva, until we see the praise and the acknowledgement that Hashem gave us the power of doing teshuva, mitbateh bashir v'shevach shemin Shabbat, is expressed in the praise and the song of Shabbos. So meaning that Shabbos shows us that we can do complete teshuva. Aval afi divarenu mechuvan hetev, but according to our words, it's well understood. Ki kshe'oseh teshuva shnema, when a person does complete teshuva, v'nidcheh hara lagamrei, when the evil is completely pushed aside, meaning the yetzer hara, the hainu, that is to say, she'asa teshuva kon kach, that a person did teshuva to such a level, ad she'ata barur hadavar shelo yachzor la'asot od et hachet v'yishaer tamid tahor v'kadosh. It's so clear that the person will never again do that transgression, and they will always remain pure and holy. So with whatever thing it is, every person has their thing. Let's say a person had a real temptation for shoplifting, and I've known people that were very tempted to shoplift and did shoplift, and how hard it was for them to break that habit, because it's a pretty easy thing to do. You walk into a store, you just stick something in your pocket and walk out. And you can get all kinds of things, especially small things, like earrings and pencils and things like that. And they say, okay, this is just really bad. I've got to stop doing this. So they bring themselves to the point where they completely uproot it entirely, and then they're able to be on the level of singing the Yom Shabbat. And the evil is completely pushed aside to the point where the person will never do that again. Even if the thought comes to them, they made the decision, they'll never do that again. V'yesh lo naicha menucha me'oran, the person has now relief or rest from the evil that was tempting them and chasing them all the time. V'zeh b'chinat Shabbat, and this is connected to Shabbat. It's kind of like a personal Shabbat. You're getting rest from the evil that was pursuing you and telling you to do the transgression. V'zeh divrei hashevach shel adam rishon, and these are the words of praise of the first man. Al she'akadosh baruch hu natan menucha ba'olam hanikreit Shabbat, regarding that Hashem gave rest to the world, and we call that rest Shabbat. And that's how we get to come out of the evil by doing teshuva, meaning we get rest from the evil by doing teshuva. Shabbat hi b'chinat shem shin daled yud, which you don't pronounce the name of Hashem, Shakai. Say Shakai. B'chinat Malach Matat, which is connected to the angel of Matat, and Matat is also a name that's written here that we don't say the name of that angel, that's the angel of death. Kimau Shem Shakai, what is the name of Hashem that's called Shakai? Teshuva within the Zuchanan B'chana says, the lesson memory said, She'amar le'olamo dai, that Hashem said to his world, enough, dai. Shebezman b'riat ha'olam, hu haya ha'olam mitrachev v'holech. In the time that the world was being created, it was constantly being expanded and created. Ad she'ga'ar bo HaKadosh Baruch Hu v'ha'amido, until Hashem, I guess, stretched it out and then said, that's it, I'm stopping here. B'bchinat Shabbat, and this is connected to Shabbat. Gam kein kach b'bchinat shem dayin. Shabbat is also an aspect of enough. Moshe katuv, as it's written, vayishbot b'yom hashvi'i mikol malachto. And Hashem rested from all of his work on the seventh day. V'amar dayin, and he said, that's it, I'm done. B'bchinat matat, that's connected to the angel of death. Shehu gam kein b'bchinat shakai, which is also connected to the name of Shakai. Let's see, that's a little interesting. I don't understand the connection. Shalav lekaman itba'er kushia she'arei matat sholet b'shesh mimachol v'lo Shabbat v'az sholet shem Shakai. That's interesting. Okay, so The angel Matat, which is connected to death, but is also, I guess, connected to just evil, is the evil energy. It rules during the 6 days of the week, but it doesn't rule on Shabbat. What rules on Shabbat? Shakai, meaning the aspect of Hashem that said enough. You understand the connection that he's making? He's saying that Shabbos is the aspect of enough, and when Shabbos comes, the evil energy that exists during the 6 days of the week doesn't exist on Shabbos. That's why we get rest from the negative energy on Shabbos. Kanoda sheyesh sham shakai olam gematria matat. So it also turns out that the same letters of the angel Matat come out to be the same numerical value as the name Shakai. לאחר שבאר שישנו בית מיני תשובה, אחד בחינת חול ואחד בחינת שבת. After he explained that there's two types of tshuva, one is the aspect of the weekday and one is the aspect of Shabbos, יביא קטע מזוהר בראשית, going to bring a section from the Zohar, and בראשית ויבארו an pizeh, and they're going to explain it. So instead of reading all the Aramaic, I just printed it up in English. Where did Hashem take him? He took him from the 4 elements. You know, all of us have the 4 elements, and my wife is very into that, into telling people, you know, you have this first and you have that first. That Arya knows is type 1. And Meir, I don't know, I'm not the expert like Noga, but everyone's got the 4 elements in them. And when a person repents and engages in Torah study, the Blessed Holy One takes him from there. So I guess Hashem made us from the earth, you know, from the elements. But when a person does teshuva, they transform themselves and they bring themselves to a higher place than what Hashem created us as. Concerning this, it said, from there it spills off. He separated his soul from their temptations to tend the garden through the positive commandments and guard it with the prohibited commandments. In English, it's not any easier than Aramaic. He took our soul from, I guess, through doing teshuva. I don't know if it's easier to read this in English, to tell you the truth. Let's go over this quickly in Hebrew. Let's just read the Hebrew. I think this is actually clearer. Where did Hashem take a person from? Because he created the Garden of Eden, but he didn't create any other place. But Hashem took a person that was created from the 4 elements, fire, air, water, and earth, and he placed man in Gan Eden, la'avoda v'leshamra, in order to work in the garden and to serve the garden. Kach gam kol ha'adam, so it is with every person. Shehu shab b'tshuva v'asek b'torah, when a person does tshuva and works on learning Torah and lives the Torah, v'achar sheyashlim shnotav ba'olam hazeh, and after a person's, still not the same thing at all. And after a person's years in this world have been finished, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, person takes the soul out of the 4 elements of the soul, that is the physical part of the person, elav hu nafal bechatav, through which a person fell into their transgressions. And regarding that, it says the verse, and from there, Hashem separated the person. HaKadosh Baruch Hu yafrish et nafsho mita'avot hanoldot me'adalet yesodot. Hashem is going to separate the soul from the physical body, which is made of the 4 elements. V'yasimoto began Eden, is going to put the person in Gan Eden, shuhu sod hashchina, which is the secret of the Shechina. Now we know whenever we talk about the Shechina, we're talking about Hashem's presence in this world. So I guess when the soul is separated from the body, then the soul doesn't have to find the Shechina. The Shechina is completely revealed to that person, to that person's soul. ואתה מפרש את עבודת האדם בעולם הזה letikun hashchina. Now he's going to explain that the work that we do in this world, the religious, holy work that we do in this world, is the fixing of the Shekhinah. Now, just to understand the fixing of the Shekhinah didn't need to be fixed. The Shekhinah was put into this world so that we would be able to fix it. But the Shekhinah itself is doing okay. It's exiled, it's crying for us to succeed, but it's kind of like a situation that was created in order for us to do the work. It's like Hashem said, I'm going to give you something to do, and here's what it is. Now you can say, well, what's the point? The point is to elevate our souls, to reach a higher spiritual place than it could if it was in the world to come without the challenges. Dahainu la'avod et Hashem et HaKadosh Baruch Hu b'kiyum mitzvot aseh, that is to serve Hashem through the positive mitzvot. Ve'al yedei ze ma'alim mayim nukvim letaken et hashchina, and then we raise up the feminine waters to fix the Shekhinah. Ve'lihishamer u'lizaher v'mitzvot lo ta'aseh, and to be careful not to do the negative mitzvot, like don't steal, don't murder. Ve'al yedei zeh shomrim et hashchina me'achizat chitzoniyim. And by doing this, we protect the Shekhinah from being trapped in the evil energy of the world. Ve'im avar mitzvot Torah, and if a person transgressed the mitzvot of the Torah, as kol everav shenivra'u midalad yesodot, and then all of the person's limbs that were created from the four elements, yashku b'miriut eitara, will be sunken in the bitterness of the tree of evil, shehu yetzara, which is the evil inclination, dahainu mesitra acha, that is from the negative side of the energy. V'im osim teshuva an she'avru an haTorah, and if a person does teshuva for doing a transgression, for not doing the mitzvot, ne'amar behem, it said about the person, ve'yarehu Hashem eitz, Hashem is going to show the person the tree. What tree are we talking about? Zeu eitz chaim, that's the tree of life. Shehu Torah, which is the Torah. B'meh yamtiku hamayim, and with what will the waters be sweetened? Al yedei zeh yisku lilmod Torah b'mitikut, that a person will be able to learn Torah through sweetness. Da Moshe Mashiach, and this is the aspect of Moshe Mashiach. Zeu b'chinat Moshe shu b'chinat sfirat tiferet. This is the aspect of Moshe, which is the attribute of Tiferet. Tiferet is bringing stringency and kindness together. Shehi Yesod Torah Shebechtav, which is the secret, not Yesod, Sod HaTorah Shebechtav, which is the secret of the written Torah. Shehi Eitz Chaim, which is the tree of life. Nishmat Moshe Yitkala B'Viat Mashiach. What is the secret of the written Torah? Why is it Tiferet? Because it gives us rules, it gives us a framework, and through that we can reach a higher spiritual place. That's what brings out the aspect of Moshe Mashiach. So a person could say, why would I want to keep kosher? Why would I want to keep Shabbos? Why do I need to do all these things? It's in order to bring yourself to a higher place. Just like anybody that disciplines themselves in anything. So a person wants to run the marathon, you have to force yourself to run and run and run and run and stretch and run and run and run. And you could say, well, why would you do that? Because I want to run the marathon. I can't run the marathon unless I do that. Well, our souls came into this world wanting to reach a high spiritual place. So if they're not given a framework, like a marathon, you have to run this amount of miles or kilometers in this amount of time, then there was never any challenge for the soul, and it would never reach anything. And the soul will come back to the world to come and say, I did nothing in this world. And Hashem will say, why not? You say, because you didn't tell me what to do. Hashem said, but I gave you the Torah, and I gave all kinds of people to bring you closer to the Torah, and to ask you to light candles, and ask you to put on tefillin, and to ask you to keep mitzvot. And that's what we're doing in this world. So if we go back and it says the Torah is Tiferet, it's because it's bringing together kindness and stringency, and that is Eitz Chaim. That's the tree of life. Shenishmat Moshe Hitgalam Beviyat Mashiach, and the aspect of the soul of Moshe is revealed in the coming of Mashiach. She'az Hitkaleh Ha'arat Tfirat Tiferet. Then the spark of what Tiferet really means will be revealed. Shne'emar b'Moshe b'hayoto b'midbar, as it said about Moshe when he was living in the desert, umate Elokim biyadi, ki mate da matat. And the staff of Hashem is in my hand, because now he's saying mate is connected to matat. The staff is connected to matat, which is the angel matat, which is the negative energy, hashalot be'et galut, which is sholet be'et galut, which is ruling in the time of the exile, mesitre chayim, mesitre mita, mitzad shenim shechim achayim, hareruim lechayim, from the side that's drawn life, that's fitting for life, v'gam mavet lechayavim mita, and also the negative, meaning that in this world you can get both. You can get either the negativity of the world, or you can get the positivity of the world. And we sometimes fluctuate between the two, but the person chooses what they want to have more of. And a person that does teshuva, they merit to have more of the life than the death. And especially if you see somebody that was really, really like far off, people that go very far. They're involved in gangs, and they're covered in tattoos, and they were in prison, and they were selling and using drugs, and who knows what, however far a person can go. And then they want to do teshuva. There was this guy who showed up at Mayanot. We're going to finish in just a second here. This guy who showed up at Mayanot covered in tattoos, all the way on his hands, like down to his nails, up his neck, everywhere, like everywhere that I could see. And he showed up in shorts and a short sleeve shirt in the beginning. And I'm kind of disgusted by tattoos. It's just a thing with me. I don't know, maybe growing up with Holocaust survivors, whatever it is, just really revolts me. And I couldn't bring myself to say hi to this guy. And eventually he started covering himself up, and then at some point he started dressing as a breast lover. But I saw he was a serious guy, like he was really davening, and he knew how to daven. So I introduced myself. Turns out he's Israeli. He doesn't come to Mayanot anymore. I don't know what his story is, where he is, but I just think about him. Here was a guy, poor guy, like where did he end up that he covered himself in all these tattoos, and then one day has like this revelation, oh no, I didn't want tattoos, I wanted Hashem. And I hope he's continuing on the path. But all those tattoos were not bringing him to a place of goodness. They were bringing him to the side of death. But coming back to the Torah is now giving him life. And that's what he's talking about here. Ki matat hu kalul meitov v'ra. The evil includes within it good and bad. Mechaim u'mavet, with life and death. Ad kan l'shano, that's what the Zohar says. Okay, so that's where we're going to stop. Right, so somebody could say, my Shabbos is dancing in the disco on Friday night. That's life and death. There is life in it, but there's also the death in it. Okay, I wanted to tell a short story. I did my little trick. Every story I came across was complicated. But I did see something by the Al-Sheikh, so I figured I'll tell a story about him. I should have looked up the years on him. So he got married very young, something like 14, and not long after he got married, his wife passed away. And I probably told you the story before. It's a good story. And his mother noticed that he was very depressed. And she would bring him his tea every morning. He'd wake up at like 3 o'clock in the morning, and she'd bring him a cup of tea. And he would sit there and learn. But it wasn't easy for her to do, 3 in the morning. So she went next door. There's the daughter of the water carrier, Fegele. And she says to Fegele, listen, do you mind if I pay you a little bit of money? All you have to do is get up at 3 in the morning, bring my son some tea, and go back to sleep. And I'll pay you for it. And she said, okay, fine. So the first morning, she brings him the tea. And then the mother, she just wants to make sure that everything's okay. So she says to her son, what's going on? He says, you didn't bring me my tea this morning. She said, what? You didn't have any tea? He said, I did have tea, but you didn't bring it. She said, how do you know? He said, because, I need to speak with the person who brought me the tea. So she said, it's Fagi. I hired Fagi next door. So he goes to Fagi, he says, tell me, why did you bring me 2 cups of tea? So she said, well, I walked in this morning, I saw you learning with somebody, I figured you'd want tea, and he'd also want tea. He said, you're my wife. She said, what's going on here? He said, I was learning with Eliyahu Navi. I was learning with Elijah the prophet. And my first wife couldn't see it, and my mother couldn't see it. But if you can see it, you're definitely my bashert. And they got married, and as far as I know, she remained his wife for the rest of their lives. So, that's our story for tonight. If you're on the level, you can see Eliyahu Navi. You can bring 2 cups of tea. So Nami Yura is going to bring you 2 cups of tea. She's going to say, what, you don't see Eliyahu? I see. Everyone, thank you for watching.